that would have been a good game. Adazio was a coach, but Fitch would have crushed them.
Well, it is that time. We have Mike DiMauro back with us. It's been 2 weeks since we've done this. We did the power rankings the other day, and if you didn't watch those, go back and watch my utter frustration at having to put anybody 2 through 10 in the power rankings. After 2 through 10, we could throw a dart. I mean, I can't even anymore trying to figure out what's going on in the ECC. So this is going to be fun. Mike and I are going to take a look at right now, as of this morning, the CIAC rankings up and down the state from double L all the way down to S, where, if any ECC team stands in those rankings, where they might potentially end up. And then I will ask Mike some hard questions about who might be in, who might not be in, therefore, and so forth. So, first of all, 2 weeks have gone by since the last time we did this. Virtually everybody lost in the ECC. Only 3 teams went 2-0. NFA, Ledyard, and Fit, and Killingly, rather, the only ones that actually went 2-0. Everybody else had a loss somewhere. We've officially turned the page to football. The World Series is over, so now football takes center stage in the landscape of the world, despite hockey and the NBA and all that stuff. It's all football now. So much like the college playoffs, which they're just kind of being hinted at right now, and nice effort by BC this past weekend. This is now time to look at the high school football playoffs. Have you perused any of these yet? Have you looked?
Oh, I looked at them all.
Okay.
Yeah, I've looked at them all.
All right, so we're going to start in double L. Okay. Double L currently, the number 1 team in double L is Fairfield Prep at 6-1, leading 3 teams: Fairfield Prep, Greenwich, and New Britain, all of whom are at 6-1. And down at number 8, if the playoffs started today, the NFA Wildcats at 4-3 would be in the playoffs. There are no other ECC teams in that. So let's start there. NFA has Killingly, Wyndham, and New London. Lurking at 3-4 on the outside in, West Haven, Notre Dame of West Haven, and Crosby. This week, Fitch West Haven, which will have impacts for both of them. But West Haven, after they play Fitch, has to play Hand and North Haven. Whereas Crosby and Notre Dame do not play a team with more than 2 wins on their schedule the rest of the way.
NFA's getting in at 6-4. And I think that's exactly where they're going to finish. 6-4.
Lose to Killingly this week on game day, maybe. We'll find out. I'd love to see that. Win, and then go into the Thanksgiving Day game against New London, knowing that if they win that game, they will get in. The teams chasing them, I don't really worry about Notre Dame winning out, but can a Crosby team or a Notre Dame of West Haven team catch them at 6-4 if they both go 3-0?
It would come down to, math as it always does, Case, but I don't think so.
So as it stands right now, NFA, starting the year off at 0-3, could end up making the playoffs with a win in the oldest high school football rivalry game in the country on Thanksgiving Day. They could get in at 6-4. And since it's possible that Glastonbury at 4-3, who still has Maloney and South Windsor, Southington at 4-3, who still has Windsor and Maloney.
That's why.
And Cheshire, and Danbury, who still has Ridgefield. It's possible we could get like 7 teams at 6-4 for 4 spots.
Yes. Well, 48 teams have to make this, right?
Sadly, yes.
So I think back to, I've seen a 10-0 Fitch team and a 9-1 Montville team back in the day not make it. and now we have 6 and 4 teams who are going to make it. But this is what we no. This is not what we want. This is what they want.
So now I have all the answers, Mike, right there in the crystal ball. But you've got your crystal ball up here, and you are saying NFA is in
at 6 and 4.
All right. Let's turn our attentions ever briefly to Class L, where there isn't an ECC team anywhere. So, like I said, briefly, New Canaan, number 1 team in the state at 7-0, and then nobody better than 5-2. Is there a team in L that can beat New Canaan?
I don't think so, but certainly for Killingly's case to be number 1 in the final poll, that's what they need. Staples
and Darien are the 2 teams New Canaan have left. Who's better? Who's got a better chance of winning?
Darien. I mean, that's a blood rivalry. I just don't think they're as good. They're not as good this year. So,
yes or no, New Canaan finishes the regular season undefeated?
Yeah, I think they will. I can't see them losing.
All right, let's move down to Class Double M. This is, I think, one of the most interesting of all of them. Wilton, Windsor, both 7-0, up at the top. Middletown at 6-1, and then right now, if the playoffs started today, at number 7, at 4-3, the Fitch Falcons. Just on the other side of them at number 8, Massac, and the next local team, ECC team, at number 10, the Valley Panthers, who still have Bacon Academy and Griswold on their schedule, so not an easy road for them. But Fitch, this week, has that West Haven team. Then they play New London, and then they play Ledyard on Thanksgiving. So the question is this. Can Fitch get in at 6-4? The answer is clearly yes. Massac still has Newtown. That's probably their best bet. Weathersfield at 9 still has Middletown and Newington. And we mentioned Valley already. So I don't know that Weathersfield or Valley can catch Fitch if they finish 6-4. So conceivably, they could lose to West Haven. If they were able to beat New London, they could roll into Thanksgiving with a chance to win and get in. However, if they beat West Haven, there's a chance they could roll into Thanksgiving and be in regardless.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to say, when they lost that game impossibly to NFA a couple weeks back, I thought they were done. Now you look at it, they probably can afford another loss and still make it. That is such a huge game Friday.
Looking at Fitch, by the way, their losses, 5-2 Amity, 7-0 Killingly, and the aforementioned NFA in improbable fashion. Suddenly those Fitch losses don't look as bad. That Fitch team, that West Haven game should be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and Fitch, the problem with Fitch is I just don't trust them because you never know play to play what's going to happen. They could easily finish 7-3.
Yes,
but who knows?
I was going to say, is there any record from 4-6 to 7-3 that you can't see happen?
No, absolutely.
I mean, the New London game on a Saturday morning, live on game day. The New London game on a Saturday morning is not like that. If there's ever been a trap game, if they were to beat West Haven and you got Thanksgiving looking ahead and you're playing a Saturday morning game in New London, I mean, talk about a possible trap game.
That right now, that Thanksgiving game, Fitch Ledyard, could be they could be both in by that game, or they could be both playing for their lives.
All right, so I already know the answer. Tap your crystal ball. Is Fitch in when they play Ledyard on Thanksgiving, or do they need to win to get in on Thanksgiving?
I think if they beat West Haven, they're in.
We can hedge it all we want, Mike. I asked you.
I would say no then.
Okay, so they need to win on Thanksgiving to get in.
Probably.
Okay. All right. Moving down now to Class M, which is probably the second least interesting of all of these brackets.
Yeah, I'd say the most least interesting.
I do love, by the way, the teams here though, because Berlin, who has a local attachment because they've played New London and drilled them. Berlin 7-0 has had a remarkably good year, but you've also got WCA who beat Stonington in week 1. You've got Guilford. It's a good bracket. But you got New London, East Lyme, and Woodstock at 14, 15, and 16. No one's getting in from the ECC
nice knowing
in
right.
M. So the question I have is who's the best bet to challenge Berlin
St.
for
Joe's.
a state championship?
St. Joe's for sure. I mean, their losses were close loss to New Canaan, close loss to Greenwich. Hand. Yeah, no. St. Joe's and again,
having beaten Staples, having beaten Darien, having beaten Ridgefield, having beaten Southington, having beaten Darien. I mean, Danbury. Yeah, St. Joe's.
Well, and I mean, so yes, of course, St. Joe's out of the FCAC getting kids from 30 different towns against Berlin, who is getting kids from one town. They of course should be in the same in the same division, right?
We are going to have before the basketball season a whole. You did a great article on. We're going to have a whole. We're going to do a whole thing on who got Rogered and good in the basketball things, and you'd be surprised at who I think. I'll just say this. No small public school should ever have to jump up a bracket just because they were successful.
That's right.
If you get 200 kids every year from one place and you happen to have a good run, then guess what? History's made.
You would have thought that when they saw what they did to Wheeler a couple of years ago, they wouldn't do it to Old Lyme. And here we are.
All right. Possibly the most ECC impactful division, Class SS. Right now at 7-0 is the best team in the state of Connecticut. I said it. The Killingly Trailblazers. Finally, in the right order, Nonawog is no longer 1. They're 2. Nonawog still has to play Bacon Academy. And other than that, Nonawog does not play a team over 500. There's a very good chance Nonawog finishes undefeated, which would keep them in the 2. Hand, who currently sits at 3, still has Fairfield Prep, West Haven, and Guilford. So Hand is not, and now Jonathan Law, whose only loss is to Killingly, sits at 4. They still have to play Fairfield Prep. So there's a big shakeout. Enfield's at 5. And where I'm going with this is everybody, I think, thinks that Killingly Hand is the best final, the best 2 teams, if you will. Certainly, since they beat Jonathan Law pretty handily earlier in the year, it's not that. So there's a possibility that Hand drops and these teams reshuffle. But as it stands right now, we would be in for a really fun semifinal Killingly, either Killingly Law or Killingly Ellington, and then a Killingly Hand potential final. That makes SSS very good. But right now, sitting down in the 8th spot, if it started today, the Ledyard Colonels. Now, the Colonels have Woodstock, who we know is not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. Stonington, who is not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. And then the Fitch Falcons on Thanksgiving Day. But before we glance at those, let's say that sitting at number 9, lurking over the shoulders of the Colonels, the team that beat the Colonels and possibly the game that will haunt Ledyard this year, the Waterford Lancers. Now, Waterford still has to play Killingly and East Lyme. And just because I want to be fair, at the 13 spot at 4-3, the Bacon Academy Bobcats. So just because I don't think there's ever been a time this late in the season in my
We
recent
talked
memory
about Bacon.
where I can say Bacon's in on a sheet of paper. It
Yeah.
would have been
Very
4
good.
sheets deep. So, good job, Bacon. There's a lot of schools on the other side of them. So, let's start with non-ECC. Can Hand run those 3? Prep, West Haven, and Guilford without a loss?
No, Prep will beat Hand.
At which point can is Law going to beat Prep?
I don't think so.
So then Prep knocks off the 3 and the 4.
Yeah.
So Ellington, whose toughest game is their rivalry with Rockville, Ellington could slide all the way up to the 3 spot.
Yes. If you're Killingly, you want Hand to win. Win. That's the final that you
don't want them in the semis either.
You want Hand in the finals. You want to be able to beat a brand name.
Yeah.
It'll help your
cause towards number 1. Ledyard looks like it looks like they might be able to get in at 7-3. I don't think they can get in at 6-4, but they should be able to get in at 7-3 because I think Waterford's got a loss.
New Fairfield's going to lose to Bunnell, so they're gonna have another loss too.
So I think 7-3 is a confident in for Ledyard. So if they can beat Woodstock and Stonington and roll into Thanksgiving at 7-2, they could absorb a loss on Thanksgiving conceivably and still get in. Now you don't want to get in at the 8 spot because you don't want to have to play Killingly in the first game. You also probably don't want to get the funny thing though is that somebody, and this is no offense to Nonawog, all right, you're having a great season, and by all accounts, you're a very good team. I've heard that from multiple people. But if I'm a team and I'm looking at, of the top 5, Killingly, Daniel Hand, Jonathan Law, Ellington, and Nonawog, and I had to choose the one that I want to play in the first round, I'm choosing Nonawog. So somebody, if Ledyard gets in, I mean, they could even get, there's a chance they could knock somebody off.
Read off the teams Nonawog is beaten.
Nonawog has beaten Montville, who is 1-5, Valley, who is 4-3, Wilcox Caner, which is 5-2, Platt Tech, which is 5-2, Notre Dame Prep, which is 4-3, and Cheney Tech, which is 3-4. So I count 3 Tech schools, a team that's won 1 game, Valley, who is I think Nonawog's best win, and Notre Dame Prep. So I think those are 2 good wins.
With the right draw, I think Ledyard could make a run because it's not after Killingly and Hand and Law. It's not a great class. Now, Ledyard concerns me because I think at some point you have to be able to throw to win. Mm-hmm. However, they are getting better and better at the single wing stuff. I mean, they ran over East Lyme last week. Ran them over. And I thought if they could only throw the ball. Because and I still think they can make a run.
Now, I agree with you, but I'm going to say this. We said the same thing after they played NFA, that they ran them over, and then they lost to Waterford. I'm going to put a little we didn't talk about it a lot during the broadcast. Jordan Favory did not play in the second half of that Waterford game. By all accounts, he is the guy.
And let's face it, they ran Waterford over that night. Waterford, they won the game, okay, but Ledyard had 375 rushing yards. That's not a game they should have lost.
All right, so I'm going to say this. Does Ledyard need to go 3-0 down the stretch, or can they absorb a loss?
I think they can absorb a loss to get in, but to get, I think, the better draw, they need to win their last.
Who's the biggest threat to Killingly? Not from a brand.
Hand.
Is Hand still the biggest threat to Killingly?
I mean, Hand has played a really good. There's Hand's schedule is excellent.
Yeah, Hand's wins are almost as impressive as Killingly's. St. Joseph at 5-2, North Haven at 3-4, Brookfield at 5-2, Hamden at 2-5, Xavier at 1-6, Shelton at 1-6. Some of those traditionally very good teams like Shelton and Xavier and Hamden not having their best seasons, but still
the St. Joe's game,
that's a great win.
I mean that tells you, there's something in the tank there.
But if you look at Killingly's wins, they're the worst team on Killingly's win list is New London at 3-4. Everyone else is well above 500, including giving Law its only loss. And what they did to Griswold was, I mean, the Killingly scores are just. We're gonna finish with that thought in a moment. All right, we're gonna finish in S, and of note in S is that Griswold sits in the 8th spot at 6-2, Stonington in the 10 spot at 4-3. You got 3 undefeated teams here: Woodland, Seymour, and Cromwell. And we know Seymour's good because they beat Griswold to start the year. This looks like a pretty tough. You got 5 and you got only 1 loss all the way down to the 6. Can Griswold get in if they get another loss?
I don't believe so.
Now they got to beat Stonington, East Lyme, and Valley. Not an easy schedule, but 3 games that I would put them as the favorite.
They'll win those games.
So if they finish at 8-2, it's conceivable that they're still the 8 seed at 8-2. Right? They could be 8-2 and still be.
It'd still be the yeah. But I'll say this. Is, Sheehan is 3rd. Mm-hmm. Waterford was competitive with Sheehan in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I give Griswold a puncher's chance to make the finals.
I would agree. The team that scares me most there is the 17 Bloomfield, just because I think that they are, again, we're talking about a iconic program. And now Bloomfield still has to play Windsor at the last game of the year. So that could knock Bloomfield conceivably out.
Yep.
Northwest Catholic, Cromwell, great program as well, right? But Cromwell still has Rocky Hill, so we'll see what happens there. So there will be some shakeup there, but I love the Griswold possibilities as well.
Okay, Mills, Waters, Cutter. I give them a shot.
So, yes, Peter.
Question from the chat. What is the benefit of having so many teams make the playoffs?
Okay, now here's the problem. Mike and I feel the same way on this, and I don't want to. So I'll take the devil's advocate because because obviously, I'm gonna preface this. I'm taking devil's advocate. I think it's stupid. Go ahead, Mike. Why is it a good thing?
To give more kids the playoff experience. That's it, Pete. Nothing more than that.
Okay, what does that mean? The playoff experience, going and getting beat by 110 points by a team you shouldn't have even bothered. Is that a good experience?
Hey, you remember our senior year? We made the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, how'd you do?
Yeah, we didn't do so, but we made we made it. You put a little banner up there.
So follow up from me, not from the chat. If we think this is stupid, are we being hypocrites by now talking up the championship chances of a bunch of 8 seeds from the ECC who would not make the playoffs in the system that we seem to prefer?
So yes and no. Let me start with why I think it's silly is Connecticut is the size of Texas's left toe, and we managed to put 48 teams into a playoff bracket in the second smallest state in the country. Mm-hmm. That's too many. I was also not an advocate of the 2-team playoff either. I think there's a number. I don't think it's the number that we're doing now. I don't think 6 divisions of 8 makes any sense. I'd be more like a 4 division of 4 kind of a guy. I think the championship should mean something. I also think there's more value talking about the what-ifs of the Fitches and Montvilles of the world that didn't make the playoffs. I think there's more value in that than talking about the once every 8 years 8 seed that managed to make a final kind of a thing. Really, what the 48 playoffs are is not an opportunity for more teams to have a playoff experience. It's an opportunity for the elite teams who are always very good to continue to play a schedule that they have to play and still allow them to get in the playoffs when they go 7-3 and 6-4 instead of having to make them go undefeated.
But the other thing I would say is more playoff games gives CIAC more of a chance to charge the fans $10 a whack to come in.
So the reason we're not hypocrites, Peter, is not being in favor of a system doesn't change the fact that is the system. So under the existing system, it's our jobs to talk about it, and we are in the most realistic way possible, while also saying we're not fans of it. But yeah, this is a 100% a money grab for the CIAC. But again, it's the Cheshires of the world that want 48 teams so that they can go 6-4, 7-3, and still make it. It's not the Bacon Academies of the world that ever benefit from the 48 teams, because if they were lucky enough to make an 8 seed, then they get hammered.
Yeah, I should say it's not $10, it's $11 and something now because of the surcharge that you have to pay on
The processing fee.
Yes, GoFan.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this particular playoff system. I think that this system is silly. I think the brackets in basketball are silly. I think in baseball, I think that we got a lot of confusing choices. So, my question to you, Mike, is you've already answered. So I was going to ask you, if we earlier in the year said, why is the ECC lousy in football, and yet we're talking about 6 potential playoff teams, I think we've already answered that to me says all you need to. We're saying that the ECC is not great in football, and yet we're going to have 6 teams in the playoffs maybe.
We're going to have limited ECC teams be rewarded by playoff spots. And we sit here every week and say everybody in this league except one has to get better. And yet they may go home at night and say, what are these guys saying? We made the playoffs.
So here's my look at it. Who is the best big school in the ECC? Of the big schools. I'm going to call big schools L and double L. Medium schools are M and double M, and small schools are S and double S. Who's the best big school in the ECC?
Well, since Fitch is in double M, it's NFA.
Okay. Does NFA deserve to be in the postseason?
No.
Okay. Who is the best medium-sized school in the ECC? It's Killingly.
Yeah, but they're in double S.
Oh, that's right. I think we got to consider them a small school.
Yeah.
So is it Fitch? Is it Ledgerd?
Well,
Ledger's
Ledger's
also
in double S. So
I
I would say it's Fitch.
Okay, it's Fitch. Do they deserve to be in the playoffs?
No.
Okay. Killingly is the best team in S. Do they deserve to be in the playoffs?
Of course.
Okay. Who's the second best team in S? Or double S?
Griswold.
Okay. Do they deserve to be in the playoffs?
I'd say yes.
Okay. So Griswold's the team who has a legit case to say expanded playoffs are good because it gives us the second best small school. Again, think about what we just said. The second best small school in our conference
Might have to go 8-2 though.
They don't, and I would suggest they should.
But these other teams are going to be 6-4.
Right, and Griswold gets to play 6 teams that couldn't compete. There's 6 teams that can't compete. Whereas we talked about the wins of some of those big schools. We talked about Xavier having a down year. They beat NFA. We talked about Hamden having a down year, or Shelton having a down year. Xavier in a down year. Xavier has won 1 game this year. They beat NFA. Yeah. So I don't want to complain about the teams that the ECC is getting to play. So here's my final question. I asked it earlier in the week. I'm going to ask you. Is Killingly the most dominant team / best team, you can answer it 2 different ways, that we have ever covered from our area on game day?
Well, we go back to 2012. Yes. I would make this Killingly team, if they win, since I've been here since, we'll say 1990, they're the 3rd best team I've seen. 1A and 1B, New London 91, Fitch 2000. This is number 3. This is a really, really good team.
So the best team I saw growing up was the 83 New London team, 83 Juan Roman, Jack Cochran, Dan Vendetto, that went undefeated, shut out everybody. I think they gave up a touchdown twice, and beat Torrington, shut out Torrington in the finals. Until I hit high school and the great era that I was a part of, Jamal Johnson, Jason Appleby, that whole unbelievable group, Shea Sanders, was not the best of those teams. The best team I saw out of high school was the 91 New London team. Rob Young, Troy McKelvin, John McCullough. That team was insanely good. Insanely good. And I did not see enough of the 2000 Fitch team. I remember how good they were. But all of the people whom I trust say 100% put that team there. So I will say, I'm fine with anyone saying the 2000 Fitch team, the 91 New London team. I personally threw the 83 New London team up there. I put this Killingly team right now today in the mix, in the conversation. If they finish this year undefeated and they beat a hand in the finals to go back-to-back state championship, back-to-back undefeated, finish possibly number one in the state, I don't see any way to not put them in that conversation with the best teams we've ever seen. And I think they're clearly the most dominant team we've had on game day.
There's no doubt about that. And the other point to make here is New London 91 finished number one. Fitch 2000 finished number one.
Yep.
Killingly could. They're number two right now. They're going to stay there, and if New Canaan loses, they had a chance to finish number one.
So my proposal is that next year we just go to a round-robin format where we don't have any regular season games. But then at the end of the year, double L and L play each other in a final, and M and double L, L, and double M, and then M, double S, and S. And we have two state champions out of that. So let's just keep playing. Let's just play playoff games starting in October. October 1st, we'll just start playing playoff games. Everybody gets in.
Well, Case, we can't do that because Thanksgiving. We must play.
That's right.
Must play.
It's fair.
So we can't do that.
All right, Peter, I know you're off camera, but your voice still resonates. I have one 3-part question for you.
Ooh.
Is this Killingly team the best team that you've seen while we've been doing game day?
Locally, yes.
Yeah, that's correct. I should have prefaced that. Yes, because we have broadcast other teams from out of the ECC. Yes, of our ECC teams.
Yes.
Okay.
Part two.
Yeah, part two. What year do you go back to look at local teams?
07.
And then I would put that. Are they the best of the teams of your recollection locally?
So, I guess the best team that I would have seen before that would have been New London's championship team with Jordan Reed.
Casey
Cochran was 08, I think.
Yeah. Richie Vitale. Yep.
It's a good one.
That was a good team.
It's a good one. I'd like to see that game.
Yep.
That's a good one.
And
part 3 is what would your ideal number of playoff teams be?
I think that I like you do a big and a small, and you can put 8 teams in.
Sort of, I said 4 divisions of 4. You're saying 2 divisions of 8. I think 16 sounds like a nice number. What would your idea?
I would
be?
do 24. I think that there's 120-ish schools. 24 out of 120. That number I could do.
All right, folks at home, the big 3 questions. Number 1, is this the most dominant team that you've seen in your lifetime locally from Killingly? And if it's not, who is? And if you come at me with another team, I'd like you to back it up with something other than your own personal opinion. Throw me a number, throw me a stat, throw me anything, not just the way they made you feel, because as much as I appreciate that on those warm Saturday mornings in November. Number 2, how many would you put? What's the ideal number of teams in the postseason? Please do not tell me to get off your lawn while you're doing it, but make a point about how many teams should be in the postseason. And then finally, my final thing I want all of you to send to us is what team from the ECC in football, okay, do you think most benefits from the expanded playoffs? Who do you think actually really is a team that otherwise might not get in but has a legitimate chance at making a run? Because that's the team that really, it's not the teams that get in and get mushed. It's the team that gets in and maybe makes a run that justifies these expanded playoffs.
Mushed. That's a good word.
We had a lot of mushed in the grade 8 this week. You can go back and look at that. All right, guys, a lot of things this week. NFA and that really, really talented defense, perhaps the best defense Killingly has seen this year, will be up at Killingly facing the Trailblazers. All the action live on game day. We'll be keeping an eye on Fitch and West Haven, which is another big game this week. ECC's teams starting to look at their postseason possibilities, and we will have it all for you continuing on. Till next time, Crystal Ball.